Alright, here we go, everyone. Alright, we are live. Let me post some videos here while we're live now. Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am theroo802, and guess what? We are live for fantasy football chat. We're going to be live here for the next couple hours. Going to be running down all the different position groups. We're going to point out some busts. We're going to point out some guys I like here. I'm going to field your questions here, among other things as well. That sounds like shit. Simi, we're not talking about baseball. We're not talking about baseball. Fuck the Dodgers. We're not talking about baseball today, Simi. I'm sorry, but I do not want to talk baseball. We're talking football, the sport that doesn't suck donkey ass. Hey, how's it going, everyone? I am theroo802. We're live right now on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. We're talking fantasy football. The bus, the people I want to say, like, I'll pick for guys you should look at, possibly even like be weary of a little bit because of injury history or whatever. And also I will be taking your questions on what you think is, well, what do you think is a great move, or should I draft this guy over this guy? Where should this guy be getting drafted? I'll do it all, everyone. So pop in, come say hello. I look forward to seeing you all on here. I love you all. I hope you all have had an amazing day, and I've been looking forward to this all day. Peace. Um, Insta. Make a post on there. Football until February start this week. Facts, Simi. Do you want to get on a call with me, brother? Do you and talk sports with me, or I should say, talk football with me? There, Simi. Simi, Simi, you, Simi, yay. Or are you good being just on the ride here? Okay. So we just threw that on the story. Oh, fuck. I gotta get back into the fantasy football chat for TikTok. I got everybody on Twitch and YouTube all up on my screen. I do need to get myself a way to get all my chats up on the screen just in general. Tom Brady, number one pick. Yeah, you're an interesting one there, Tyler. You Patriot lover. Okay, so got the internet browser open. We're going to take a look at some of our, what I'm going to call our rootastic fantasy football list when it comes to what are the biggest things going into the season? Like, what are some of the big position groups? I've been doing a little bit of studying. I'm gonna give you guys some good. Realistically, I'm gonna give you guys some great choices for guys that you should probably stay away from. And why the hell isn't my fantasy league popping up? There we go. I'm going to give you guys some great advice on who to draft, who to stay away from this year, and go from there. Yo, I didn't know when you'd be home, so go if you can just shut my door. I'm streaming, bro. Thank you. All right, here we go. So first off, we're going to start off at quarterbacks, guys that at least I'm going to be targeting because I think they're going to have good years. I think you can remotely look at guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Drake May. Like, that's going to be easy. Those are easy guys to go after. But my whole thing with the quarterback position, do not make them your first or second pick. I can't emphasize enough. Always go running back first. There is plenty of wide receivers in football where you got to think there is essentially three starting wide receivers in football because you got your X and the Y, and then you have your slot receiver. So more than likely you have three guys that, and especially if you're Cincinnati, who's got three guys that can basically do anything on the field. So, and realistically, when it comes to running backs, there's not very many bell cow running backs anymore. There's not a lot of guys that, oh, I am going to take 80% of the carries. I'm getting 80% of the touches. Let's just face it, there's not as many good running backs as there is good wide receivers. Because you can even say there's two good wide receivers in every offense, mostly. So you got 32 teams of wide receivers. You don't have enough running backs that are guys that are going to consistently give you double-digit points every single week. That is going to be my first piece of advice for everybody watching today, is go heavy on the running backs, guys. You should automatically be taking 4 running backs in your draft, especially if you are like what we do in my league. We run 2 running backs and 2 flexes along with 3 wide receivers. We found that last year we had that same format, except we had only 2 wide receivers. We found oftentimes that there was always, you had the dilemma of, oh, I wish I could start 3 wide receivers. But for me, I always try to go 4 running backs, so I have 2 starter running backs, and then I have 2 running backs in my flex spots. Because traditionally, if you draft the right guys, you're going to get way more points, because wide receivers don't usually get rushing yards. And then if you get the right running backs that are great pass catchers, guys, they will get you a lot of points as well. So, for example, I'm going to shout out one of my favorites here. New York Jets running back Breece Hall. Breece Hall, always on tape, a great pass catching back, great running back in general. There's a reason why the guy just got paid. Let's just put it that way. There's a reason why the man just got paid. So realistically, that's where my head's at with running backs, guys. But to jump back into quarterbacks, again, like I said, do not make this your top pick. hell, I would your first two picks, my opinion, like I said, running back all the way. You can make a case for something else after that, maybe wide receiver, but like I usually don't draft my quarterback until like the 5th or 6th round, and that's because yeah, you could get a Drake May, you could get a Lamar Jackson, you could get a Josh Allen. Hell, you could get a Jaden Daniels, which we don't know. I would expect after the sophomore slump that we had from Jaden Daniels that Daniels will be back furious and ready to fight for that one of those top quarterback spots again. Because what he did as a rookie was pretty amazing. But realistically, for your top guys, in my opinion, if you're looking at the quarterbacks in the league for fantasy, guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, that those are just a few just right off the top of my head. I do expect that Hurts will take a bit of a step back because he won't have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And I think this is going to be a true prove-it year for Devontae Smith. That can he be the true number one in that offense? Especially not when you don't have a guy that can pull attention off of you. Like, it's the same thing that I would always say about Juju Smith-Schuster when Antonio Brown left Pittsburgh. And he showed he was never a number one wide receiver. He was a great number two, but he always needed that. He was the Robin to the Batman. He needed a Batman in order to be Robin. So, for me, that's my thought with that offense. As for Daniels and his offense, Daniels, I feel like, is one of those quarterbacks. He makes players better around him. Because of the fact that he has the threat of running on any play that he chooses to. Like, and there's not a lot of guys that have the speed that he does. Lamar, Josh, Jalen, all those guys have that speed. And I would even say that Jackson Dart, for example, I think that's a kid that you should watch this season, guys. How it goes at Dart? How you doing, man? I think Jackson Dart is an interesting piece here. You got Malik Neighbors coming back from an injury, and I know people are probably on thin ice with Neighbors. They don't know what to expect. You got Slayton there, and you have OBJ also in that offense. OBJ, I really hope to see him make a huge comeback season here in what will probably be OBJ's last season in the NFL. Guy has suffered a lot of injuries throughout his career. So, to me, like, it would make sense. This was kind of his homecoming, come back to the team that drafted you, and that things didn't really end the right way. I think he's gonna be better than previous years. He wasn't terrible with Baltimore either, but the problem was he couldn't stay healthy. Now that he had a full off season where he wasn't hurt, I almost wonder what version of him are we going to see. But that Giants offense with Scatterboo, and you still have Singletary in that offense, and you still have Tyrone Tracy Jr. Like, that's a really interesting offense, and there's a lot of opportunity here with this Giants team. They have a great coach with Harbaugh coming over from the Ravens. They much improved their defense again. I expect the Giants to be a better team this year, especially in that offense. And of course, we go over to guys like Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. We know what we're gonna get out of Joe Shiesty. As long as he stays healthy, he's gonna be a top 5 quarterback, and he doesn't even have to have the running ability of guys like Jackson Dart or Jalen Hurts or Daniels or May or Jackson or Allen. Like, he doesn't have to have that running ability. Like, and another guy that like doesn't have to have that running ability that can put points on the board for you is going to be a guy like Matthew Stafford. He has one of the best offenses in football. You have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, who both had amazing years, especially for Devontae late getting towards the end of his career. He had a pretty good throwback season from when it comes to the numbers. So expect guys like Matthew Stafford to also put up some numbers. There's a reason he threw 46 touchdown passes last year, guys. And another guy that, again, you're not relying on him for his running ability is Dak Prescott. Like, let's face it, when he is healthy, Dak Prescott can be one of the best quarterbacks, especially in fantasy. Just because you have George Pickens, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have a very speedy, explosive offense, and potentially guys that can take the top off of a defense and just run you to death. So, for me, that's my thoughts for some of those guys. Another guy I would look at, even though like I've been burned by him in previous years, you can't always take previous years and say, oh, this is what he's going to be. Players do not stay stagnant for their entire career, especially guys of that level. And Herbert always puts up the numbers. Like, let's face it. He had a career high in rushing yards last year. So Justin Herbert's another guy I would pick up here in this scenario. But if we want to talk about some sleeper guys that I don't think very many people are talking about right now, Kyler Murray, I think that is going to be one of your best under the radar draft picks. Like at the quarterback position, I think Baker is going to be another one of those guys that's very good to draft. I also got to say, and this might be going out on a limb a little bit, but Malik Willis, I think Malik Willis is somebody that you could potentially look at as a sleeper quarterback that could make some noise. Because Miami is a rebuilding team, Miami's probably not the best on defense this year, so they're probably going to be behind in a lot of games, which means he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. He's also going to be running for his life a little bit too, and we all know Malik's got some wheels. I think Malik Willis is one of those guys that you could, if you're looking for a backup quarterback, I don't think you look at him as your primary starter. But if you got your QB1 already, you're waiting for a little bit. He's going to be one of those guys for sure that's, I think, under the radar. Nobody's going to think, oh, let's draft Miami's quarterback. Another player that I think you could also look at when it comes to his abilities as a quarterback that's kind of under the radar as well is Carolina Panthers quarterback Bryce Young. Bryce Young was able to do quite a bit there for the Panthers last season. He started to step into his own a little bit. So for me, Bryce Young, I gotta say, it's a very big prove-it year for this kid. I think he can step up and really take that next step as a quarterback. And for Carolina's sake, I hope he does, because Carolina's been dying for a franchise QB since Cam Newton left. They've been dying for a franchise quarterback. And this is the closest they have had to a franchise QB. Even though they had Sam Darnold in the building, he did not look very great in Carolina. They also had Baker Mayfield. But, and that's a conversation for a whole nother day, guys. I think Baker had to be in the right situation. And at the time, I don't think Carolina was what was the right situation for the kid. So, But for me, those are some of the sleepers. Another guy you could look at, and this is me being a Jets fan, having a little bit of hope in Geno Smith. I think he's another guy you could look at as your backup. I repeat, do not draft him as your starter. I think with the certain matchups that the Jets will have this season, some of them, and if you're looking for a guy that's going to cover you for your bye week, hey, it's not a bad choice. As long as your number one quarterback is a reliable starter on a weekly basis. I'll even look at guys like Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes is kind of a sleeper, believe it or not. Because you have Travis Kelce, who's at the very end of his career. I don't think he's going to have a crazy year. They have Worthy, they have Rashee Rice. But, like, quite frankly, Mahomes and the Chiefs didn't do too hot last year. They missed the playoffs for the first time in the Mahomes era. So, I think in some ways you kind of have to look at Mahomes and the Chiefs as a little bit of a sleeper this year, because they do have a tougher division this year. Denver got better with Jalen Waddle. And you also have to look at the Chargers. The Chargers are not a bad team either. The Raiders are hands down the worst team in that division. And then we go over to the NFC. Another guy this is a guy I would avoid at all costs. Caleb Williams. They lost way too much in the offseason. I don't think they drafted terribly, but I just don't think, especially with the Madden curse too. I don't know. I'm predicting that the Bears take a step back next season, or this upcoming season, I should say. Sam Darnold, I don't know what to expect from Sam. You got durability issues with Cooper Kupp. JSN is amazing. Let's be honest here. JSN is one of the best receivers in football, but I don't know what to think with him. Another quarterback I would consider another sleeper would be Cam Ward. He's got a pretty decent receiving core coming out. He's got Carnell Tate, he's got Kelvin Ridley, and he's got Wan'Dale Robinson, which Wan'Dale Robinson, great compliment to and great pieces to add for a young quarterback to try to take a huge step in his second year. The former number one overall pick. And then I look at other guys to look out for here at the end of, or like, that potentially you could see. These are guys that you don't draft necessarily, but these are guys that you look at and you're watching them on the waiver wire here throughout the season to see if there's injuries or player doesn't perform exactly well. And one of those guys, the reason why I'm saying this player is because Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles tear. Naturally, players do not come back strong the very first year on that type of injury. I'm not saying Danny Dimes is going to suck, but I'm not saying he's going to come back and do what he was doing last year for the Colts. And as for his backup, Anthony Richardson Sr. Anthony Richardson, I think he's somebody at least worth taking a look at. Watching the waiver wire. Again, do not draft this guy because he's not the starter. But like Anthony Richardson, I think potentially could also go somewhere at some point in the season as well. And of course, you always have to look at Mac Jones over there in San Francisco. He played reasonably well for a guy that stepped in as the backup quarterback in San Fran. Kyle Shanahan, one of the greatest offensive minds in football right now. And to me, you gotta respect it. You gotta give respect where respect is due, and San Fran deserves the respect because no matter what they deal with injuries, Pearsall being out for the rest of the year already, that was just breaking news as of, I believe, yesterday. But another guy that I think could explode if he gets the opportunity because of a guy like Dak who has had a little bit of an injury history. Look at Joe Milton III. Joe Milton III, to me, when it comes to guys that you have to like kind of watch them in the waiver wire, you're not drafting these guys. You're not picking. You're waiting until there's an injury, and then you're like, oh, let me go pick him up. You're not waiting. Like that is definitely another one of those guys. I'm like, yeah, I would look at Joe Milton for sure. He's got an amazing arm, great talent. But as for quarterbacks, again, I'm gonna go through some more that are I would avoid. I said Caleb Williams already. I would even say with Jalen Hurts, even though like he is considered one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy because of his running ability. I think unless somebody steps up in that offense, and if Devontae Smith truly takes a step as the true number one option there, like I think it's going to be a regress year for Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to drop out of I think he'll be out of the top 10 for quarterbacks this year. But another guy to throw into that category that I would just be weary of is Brock Purdy. Again, I respect the fuck out of Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco offense, but injuries last year kind of hampered Purdy. So, and his division is so tough. He's got the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, and he's got the Rams. Realistically, they might be the third best team in this division. Hate to say that because I really liked watching that San Fran team last year, but I don't see it. I just don't see them out overtaking the Rams. I don't see them overtaking the shit. I just said their name. Damn it. I don't see them overtaking the Rams. I also don't see them taking over the or the Seahawks either. The Seahawks still going to be one of the better teams in football. I don't think that they repeat. That I will say. I don't think Seattle has a chance to repeat. Another quarterback I would stay away from is Trevor Lawrence in that offense. I don't know. I just think that is one of those guys that I think you can cross off your list. Jacksonville's offense I don't think is going to be as consistent as everybody might make it out to be, because I'm looking at him right now and he looks like he'd be inside the he's the 13th best quarterback according to ESPN. I don't think he's going to be even there. I think he's going to be closer to the 20th spot there in quarterbacks. I still would stay away from Tyler Shough from, I think I said his name correctly, over in New Orleans. I don't know what to expect from that offense. Running back wise, they're going to be loaded with Etienne and Kamara. That's reminiscent of the 1-2 punch of Kamara and Mark Ingram the third. I think that's going to be a very interesting rushing offense. And I hope that helps Tyler there in New Orleans, but we'll see. We'll see. Another guy that I think could potentially take a step back is Jordan Love. I almost said Romeo Doubs. But Jordan Love, and one of the reasons why I say Jordan Love is because losing Romeo Doubs, lost a key piece of their offense. And I don't know how well they are going to rebound with that. Love also spent a good amount of last year being hurt. So, and I think he was playing through some injuries too. Maybe because he's was able to have the offseason to be healthy. Maybe, just maybe, he has a good year. But I would steer clear. I'm going to steer clear of him at least. Same thing with Sam Darnold. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to get out of Cooper Kupp. JSN being the only receiver in my eyes that's like the huge difference maker there. But who knows? Maybe Sammy D can show up and show out. Fernando Mendoza. I don't know what to expect from the rookie. It all depends. I think it's all dependent on how Vegas's offensive line is improved. Because I know I drafted Ashton Genty last year, and Genty was the most inconsistent fuck. So we'll see. I'm not very high on Mendoza in his rookie year unless the offensive line shows something. Plus, you have Kirk Cousins there being paid like he's kind of the starter, but he's kind of not. Right now he's penciled in as the starting quarterback in Cade Kubiak's offense there. First year head coach too, trying to implement his system over there in Vegas. Another guy that I would try to steer clear of is CJ Stroud. You don't know what you're going to get from Stroud. He was a little inconsistent last year. So, and last but not least, I'll give you one more sleeper. I think Jacoby Brissett. He had some really good games last year. Expect it, I think, as the starting quarterback. I think Jacoby's always shown that he could be he's not going to be the guy that burns the house down when it comes to being like one of the best quarterbacks, but he is a great like third tier quarterback if you're looking at these guys by tiers. But after that, I wouldn't look very much at like guys like Deshaun Watson, for example. Kirk Cousins, I would even be even more shy with. Tua's just made of glass, and he's one concussion away from being out of the league. Yeah, he will probably play better in Atlanta than he did in Miami, just because of the fact that he's playing in a dome, and he's playing in warm weather where But the thing is, as soon as he's outside of that dome, and he's in cold elements, like for some games later in the year, yeah, and even if they do make the playoffs, it's gonna be a tough year for them. Curtis, my broski, so happy to see you, man. So, but as of right there, I'm gonna end that with our on our quarterback tier at least. Now let's go over to running backs, my favorite, and I mean my absolute favorite position in fantasy football. Let's talk about it. Right off the bat, you got I'm looking at 5 of the best guys in football here at running back. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and James Cook. James Cook, he has a potential to have a good year. My only worry about Cook is that he also has the ability to have his carries taken away from him in that offense with Josh Allen. Especially new head coach. You got Joe Brady there over in Buffalo. He's somebody I've always kind of steered away from. He is just, and another guy that I will say I'm steering away from this year as well is Devon Achane. Achane in that offense, like I was saying, Malik Willis is one of your guys that it's going to be the like a sleeper quarterback. Achane, in my opinion, has bust written all over him because He's got a little bit of competition there in the backfield. I also don't think they're going to be running the ball very much because I think they're going to be behind in a lot of games. So, and I have already said in my breakdown of the AFC East, I think Miami is one of those teams that could potentially only win a couple games on the year. So, to me, that's my thoughts on that. Those are two guys I would actually try to steer clear of. But Jahmyr Gibbs, now in an offense where he is truly the guy there in Detroit, I'd like to say that Gibbs is probably going to be one of the best running backs, and you don't have a guy like David Montgomery who is going to cut into his carries nearly as much now. But because he's having that uptick in usage, is he going to get bogged down a little bit? That's the other thing. He's going to probably go from taking 65% of the carries last season to probably taking more like 80% of the snaps, with guys behind him taking the remaining 20%. Gibbs is definitely expected to be that guy for them. Bijan, I will say, Bijan, he is going to, if Atlanta is to be successful, he has to be money this year. So Bijan Robinson, and regardless of what the quarterback position shows, he showed it last year. He can still put up the numbers. Guy that I'm like wishy-washy on because of their offense, like I said, was about Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey, one of the top running backs, when healthy, when he's at the top of his game, there ain't very many guys better than him. Let's just be completely honest here. McCaffrey is amazing, but I'm always worried about McCaffrey because of his injury history. And with the injury to Pearsall, I think you got to even look even deeper within that team to see, okay, who's going to step up. But McCaffrey is definitely not one of those guys that I'm going to be drafting very high. With it, seeing him ranked as the third running back, I would not draft him that high if I had that pick. But I always am the person I'd rather have the last pick more than anything, because then I can get boom back-to-back picks. Because unless you are not doing a snake draft, and which quite frankly, if you're not doing a snake draft, there's something wrong with you. But guys that I would go after, like I said, Gibbs, Robinson, Taylor, Saquon, Henry. I'm still all in on the King, Mr. King Henry here. Genty, I'm still wishy-washy on him because he kind of pissed me off last year. I drafted him over guys like McCaffrey and others that were much better than him last season. I just flew high on him because I thought he was going to be really good. Kenneth Walker III, despite his injury history, I think he's going to be very, very interesting in that Kansas City offense. Josh Jacobs, getting closer to the end more than he is the beginning of his career. Josh Jacobs, I definitely think can potentially be, again, another really good fantasy running back. Omari and Hampton, I didn't draft him last year, but now that it feels like it's going to be his offense when it comes to the running back position, I'd be more inclined to draft him. Chase Brown, he was always brought consistency. He was that guy that could at least give you double digits most, if not all, weeks last year. Looking back through his stats, he only had 3 games last year where he didn't score into double digits. And that's even with a Cincinnati team that was always having to throw the ball. Couple other guys to look at when it comes to your, I would say even these guys would be looking at as they're flying under the radar a little bit. Javonte Williams, because of like he had one good year, and you can have that one crazy year and then fall off. But to me, Javonte Williams is still somebody I would go after. Cam Scatterbo, despite the injury, um, he's somebody to very much watch. But keep in mind, I think Scatterbo is going to be splitting carries with Singletary and Tracy. Tracy, I think, is going to be more of the change of pace back. Singletary, I think, is going to maybe take away like 10% of carries. Um, you got Kyron Williams. That's somebody I would be jumping on really fast because I think a lot of times, like I said, I think the Rams are going to be one of the best teams in football. They're my Super Bowl pick currently. I have the Rams going to the Super Bowl from the NFC. And I think Kyron Williams is going to be one of those guys that gets a lot of carries because I think their team is going to be up in a lot of games in the second half, and they're going to be running the clock quite a bit. Brees, one of those guys I will say, very under the radar this year. Brees was not like super consistent. He had quite a few games where he had single digits, but when he blows up, he blows up. With his best game of the season being Week 17, he had 24 fantasy points against New England. He had Atlanta. He had 14 points against them, 13 against Baltimore, 20 against Cleveland, 36 against Cincy, 18 against the Cowboys, 16 against the Dolphins, 16 against Pittsburgh the first week. But other than that, he had a lot of very minor performances, with 16 against New Orleans with 7, 5 with Jacksonville, 4 with Miami. Then you had Carolina and Denver where he had 6 and 5. So I don't think you're drafting Brees to be your odds and starter. He is far enough down that tier list that I think you could get him as your flex running back, or maybe potentially your bench running back, because I think a lot of teams, a lot of people in fantasy football are going to undervalue him because of the team that he plays on. As for rookies, just to pop out, just kind of pop around here, very high on Arizona's running back there, Jeremiah Love. It's going to be an interesting year. I think Jeremiah Love will succeed as a rookie in that offense. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him as one of the top 5 rookies, or I should say top 3 guys at the end of the year, potentially getting Offensive Rookie of the Year honor. Other guys to look at, because now that Chuba Hubbard is now the guy down in Carolina, because Rico Dowdle left in free agency, went to Pittsburgh. So, and that's a guy I would strongly look at right there. Rico Dowdle, I think he is going to jump Jaylen Warren in the depth chart. Quote me on that. I think Rico Dowdle is going to. He showed what he was able to do with Carolina last year. He's in an even better offense with Michael Pittman Jr., DK Metcalf, and you know damn well they're going to run the ball. You know it. You know they're going to run the ball. They got Rodgers, but they know Rodgers is 42 years old. Rico Dowdle is one of those guys I would strongly consider as a guy that's going to jump his running backfield counterpart. Somebody else that I think is going to have a better year Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard, with Tennessee's ability to bring in some more help at the wide receiver position, help on the offensive line, I think you can expect that Tony Pollard has a better year this year. He does have a little bit of help. London or Rice? I'm going to pick Rice on that one. Only reason why I'm not very high on London is because I don't know. We don't know which version of Tua Tagovailoa we're going to get. Are we going to get the concussion-riddled Tua, or are we going to have the guy that was torching defenses with Rice and Waddle just a couple of years ago? Who to draft at first round 12th pick and then the second? Okay, so you got last pick and then first pick of the second round. I always try to go double running backs, quite frankly, because especially if you're in a PPR league, having a running back and a running back that can be a dual threat, you're more likely to get more points. I already have Gibbs though. I would still go another running back, man. The only reason I say that is because I think if you got, say, a guy that might be available around that time, you might have ability to get a guy like Chase Brown. And the only reason I say that is because if you get dual threat running backs, or even a guy like Kenneth Walker, but I don't know that Kenneth is going to be there. It all that would be dependent on if he is a keeper in somebody else's league, or in that league that you're in. Because I imagine Gibbs is your keeper from last season. It's just running backs are a lot harder to get. Good running backs are a lot harder to get. You look at the wide receiver position, and there's two or three wide receivers that are on the field most plays in the NFL. So you're looking at a much bigger body of work, bigger body of talent, where if you look at running backs, usually there's only one or maybe two running backs on the field at most on a single play. And there's not very many bell cows. So, but that's just my opinion. If you wanted to go the wide receiver route for that 12th pick, or that second pick there, or the first pick of the second round, take a look at guys like Olave or Wilson at wide receiver, or even better, look at a guy like Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is far enough down that wide receiver tier that you could even potentially get him if he is not already a keeper in somebody or in your league there. Another guy I would even look at is McMillan from Carolina. I think McMillan is going to have a very good year for Carolina. He is going to be the number one there in Carolina. Let's see. But yeah, those would be my picks. The other thing you could potentially do, because the tight end position is always super thin, and I don't think guys like Travis Kelce are gonna really necessarily push the needle anymore when it comes to their stats. And Kittle being hurt in a lot of cases, and unless you were very lucky and get guys like Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, or Loveland, or even Tyler Warren, for example. Like, the tight end position, though, there's even guys that I would look at as sleepers. Sadiq in the Jets offense, likely over in the Giants offense. To go even maybe a little bit further down that list, that could be sleepers at the tight end position. Hunter Henry, and maybe Dalton Schultz over there in Houston. But that would be my thoughts. But back to running backs really fast to finish out my tiers. I don't have a lot of belief in the Chicago Bears offense. I would stay away from DeAndre Swift. I think Travion Henderson is going to hop over Ramondre Stevenson this year in the on the depth chart and really take his footing as the guy in the New England backfield. David Montgomery has a special opportunity over in Houston to acquire the ability to be a number one running back again. He's somebody to look at depending on how this offensive line is for Houston. Expect Tootin's going to probably take a majority of the carries over there in Jacksonville. But again, I'm not so sure how much I believe in that Jacksonville offense, especially at the running back position. Let's see. Another sleeper. Look at Denver running back J.K. Dobbins. Some people are expecting him and Harvey to really truly split the carries 50-50. I'm leaning more towards Dobbins being that guy. RJ Harvey in his ability as a running back in year one. Maybe year two he plays a little bit better, but I just think you're going to definitely give it to a guy like Dobbins to carry the weight of the offense. He does have his injury history, but I think Dobbins will stay the clear-cut number one for Denver this year. And quite frankly, I think that's pretty easy to say. But Quinshot Judkins, we'll see what we get from that Cleveland offense. That's going to be a tough one. Bucky Irving, definitely keep an eye on him this year as well. My only fear with him is he had a lot of injuries last year, where I was lucky enough to have acquired his backup, which, let me go look at. Oh, his running back guy that was there last year isn't there anymore, but Kenneth Gainwell, former Eagle and former Pittsburgh Steeler, who played extremely well. That's almost somebody I feel like could. Gainwell is a talented back. I think Gainwell could potentially jump Irving in the depth chart by the end of the season. Oh, and shit. No, I forgot Mike Evans in Tampa Bay this year. Where did he end up again? I gotta remember. San Francisco. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, shit. That might change a little bit of my opinions on that San Fran offense a little bit. Just a tad bit. But again, who else is behind Mike Evans there in San Francisco with Pearsall out and Ayuk, the whole Ayuk situation over there? You don't know what you're going to get out of that. But to go at wide receivers, I'm probably going to talk again. Talk all the way to tight ends, and then we'll call it a night for the stream, and then we'll pick it back up on the following weekend. We'll reassess after we've had some preseason games, which, oh my God, it is finally back. Even it's preseason. Thank you, God, that football is back. I've missed it. And hey, we also have basketball to look forward to as well. Stream schedule will be updated here over the next couple weeks as we get closer to football season. Football is going to take up our Sundays, guys. And I also think I'm going to be doing some college football games as well. There's going to be no set teams for those for either side. I'm going to just do the games that necessarily I want to do for both sides, whether it's college football Saturday or or NFL Sundays. And truth be told, we are going to probably change our um, schedule up a little bit as well, anyways, just because we got NBA starting here shortly, um, and that will be the end of October. So expect that I will be doing a lot of Lakers games. So expect I will be still doing these late night streams, but the schedule is going to be a lot different. Come basketball season. I don't know how many off days we're really gonna have. I will have to update the schedule every single week, and it's going to change every single week once we get to that point. Um, as for football, games, Sundays are still. I'm gonna do as many football games as I possibly can for game commentary, basketball as well. Baseball, I pretty much checked out on baseball after the the bullshit from yesterday. So, but let's let's run through these wide receivers right off the bat. Some of my guys that I would be picking up right off the bat are Puka, very high on Puka, really high on St. Brown still. Chase, JSN, it should be still one of the better receivers. I don't know how what we're gonna see with that Seattle offense. CeeDee Lamb, I already spoke earlier about how that offense is explosive. Taking Pickens or Lamb, you're gonna be pretty happy. Jefferson, how you doing, Herman? Good to see you. I'm not talking very much baseball right now, Herman. I fucking hate baseball right now because the Dodgers. Fucking hate the Dodgers. um. Anyways, Nico, I'm very high on. I'm going to fade on Drake London. I'm not very high on Drake London, guys. And um, only reason I'm saying no on London is because you don't know which version of Tua you're gonna get. I wouldn't draft him if I had the opportunity. Couple other guys I'm like on the fence with. I don't know what to do with Devontae Smith because I don't know what version of if he's gonna truly step in and be the number one, and who else is behind him to help him is the other thing. McConkey is another guy that I would strongly look at as somebody to draft. Terry McLaurin, we know Scary Terry. He's called Scary Terry for a reason, guys. Another guy I would look at drafting. Jalen Waddle, though, over in Denver. Expect Waddle is a very good wide receiver, and I think he is going to play even better, being on a way better team than he's ever been on, even when he was with those teams with Hill and Tua over there in Miami a couple years ago. Their offense was high powered, but they didn't have it all put together. Higgins, I'm a little hesitant on him because of the injuries from last season, but Ibuka, I think Ibuka is going to be he's going to have to really truly step up and be that guy for Tampa now without Mike Evans there, and he won't be alone. He's got Chris Godwin, who will look to truly step back into his rightful spot as the number 2 wide receiver in Tampa Bay. Quite frankly, I think Chris Godwin has never shown that he isn't a number 2. He got a really bad injury the year previous. He got fucked up. Time for a rip off. The John F. Kennedy. Oh. Zay Flowers being the number one in Baltimore. I I had my instances with him where I wanted to throw my phone at the wall. Devonte Adams, very, very, very high on Devonte. If you don't get the chance to get Puka, get Devonte on your team. I'm still high on Garrett Wilson, even though that the Jets offense could be a question mark. I think the ability to have Geno Smith as your quarterback over Justin Fields, which isn't saying much, but at least you have a guy that can actually get the fucking ball to the wide receivers. You can actually get the guy to get the ball to the wide outs there. Olave, I'm pretty much staying far away from him just because of his injury history. A guy that I'm also going to say is I think looking at the wide receiver tier list right now, DJ Moore. I don't understand why he isn't much higher on that list. DJ Moore, I think, is going to take a huge step, having one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen. And hey, JJ, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. But there's some of my guys at the wide receiver position. Any questions from the wide out position? Anybody that you want to know if we should draft or whatever? Go ahead and put your questions out there for me. And I'm doing good, my friend. Appreciate you for tuning in. Guys, we are also trying to get to the goal of 25 one coin cats as the gift goal over here on TikTok. We have not touched any of our goals for the week. It's been a sad week for us on that front, but it is what it is. Next week's going to be a good, it'll be a better week. Yo, what am I doing? Hopping a party. I'm streaming right now, bro. We're almost done, though. Anybody has any more questions before I move on to the tight end position? All right. We're moving on. Got Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta, Harold Famine Jr., George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Kenyon Sadiq, Hawkinson, Kincaid, Henry, and Jawan Johnson. Those are your technical top 15. You're good, man. So, right off the bat, your Mount Rushmore of tight ends for the season. Think you can legitimately look at McBride, Bowers, Warren, and I'd say Laporta, because I think Laporta is going to have a bigger say in that offense this year over in Detroit. I'm not as high on Kyle Pitts. Again, he's been way too inconsistent at that position. Colson Loveland, I'm not high on the Chicago Bears offense at all. But I think that's your Mount Rushmore, so to speak, of your tight end position. Guys to look at kind of under the radar. I stay away from Kittle, and I'm staying away from Kelce this year. Too many injuries, and with Kelce being very much at the tail end of his career, I'm not very high on him. If you want to grab those guys as maybe your second string tight end, maybe, but like I would rather take chances on Andrews and Likely and Sadiq, even Hawkinson and Kincaid. I'd rather have. But that's about it, guys, when it comes to tight end position. Fryermuth might be a little interesting. Gesicki could be interesting in that high-powered passing offense. Because he had some... Hey, good afternoon, Kyle. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. We're almost wrapping up here for our stream for the day. I'm doing good. We're just running through fantasy football stuff for the 2026 season. It's funny. I almost bought a fantasy football magazine today, guys. Then I looked at the prices, like $16. I'm like, for a fucking magazine? No, I'm not gonna. Em says hi. She's working today. Tell her I said hi. Hope she's doing well. And we miss her here in the chat. Miss seeing you in the chat too, there, Kyle. You guys got to tune in more often. I know the whole schedule is a little wishy-washy and everything. We are going to be adjusting things. I think I might be going away from doing the late night stuff, at least for the time being. Like, just and this is something I'm gonna kind of weigh after this week what we're gonna do, especially because we don't get a lot of people that pop in anymore on the nights, and I want to have more engagement, more people talking to me, regardless of if we reach our gift goals or not. I want more engagement. I want to talk to more people. So I'm thinking about hitting the 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock stream window during the week before I go to leave for work. Hey, we reached our cat goal for the day. Let's go. It's our first gift goal we reached all week. Let's go. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate you, man. We haven't made a gift goal all week, and we finally did it today. This is our last stream of the week. We reached oddly enough, we didn't stream yesterday. We took a day off. It was needed. I was enjoying myself. I spent some time with my dad yesterday, guys, and it was a nice time to just hang out with him yesterday. I appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you so much. Like, hey, I try. But, I'm also not blind that there's also people that work a hell of a lot harder than me. So I do want to bring a little bit more fire, a little bit more intensity into my streams. And I think doing that 11 to 1 o'clock window where people are taking their lunch, I think you can capitalize on the amount of people that you can engage with in that window. But I also, for your streams, people got to learn we are human and we do have flaws and we don't always got time. Absolutely. Hey, God knows I ain't perfect. God knows for sure I am not perfect, man. So, and I know I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. But, I try my best every single day to just be a better version of myself. Because what other choice do I really have? Because if I just sit there and be stagnant, then I'm not trying. But as basketball season rolls back around, I will be having to do late nights for that. But I also might be doubling up on streams. That might be the other alternative that I end up doing. So we might do a day stream and do a night stream. And hey, I haven't gotten roses for a minute. I appreciate it. We got 5 roses. Let's go. I've missed my roses. I can smell the roses. I'm just kidding. Man, I will say I've missed getting roses. I had the You're Awesome cat here for the whole stream, all the streams this week. but I've missed my roses too at the same time. You know what? If you are guys are in the field of playing defensive players in your fantasy leagues, let's run over that really fast. Let's do that. For fantasy football, you got to go with Warner, you got to go with Brooks, and let me clarify this when I say that is you got to go for guys that are going to be getting a lot of tackles. That's where you get your points in the defensive positions. So, for me, I've always gone safety or linebacker. Those are the positions that, to me, tend to get you a lot of, and I mean it when I say it, a lot of points. So, just a few guys, just off the top of my head right here, I'm looking at, well, not really off the top of my head in that case then. We got Blake Cashman, Jordan Brooks, Fred Warner. Like, those are some of your better tier linebackers. For me, also, pick players that are on shitty teams necessarily. They're linebackers. Like, a middle linebacker is one of your absolute best choices to do on a shitty team. A team that you know their defense is going to be on the field a lot. Because more than likely they're going to rack up more points. So, like, getting a guy like, for example, Jamien Sherwood on the Jets, I think that's not a bad choice. If you look at what Sherwood did last year, he had 154 tackles last season, 2 sacks. So, expect that if you're looking for a guy that gets you over 100 tackles, that not a lot of people are going to be like, oh yeah, let me drop this guy. He is your guy. And then over in the safety position, look at a guy like Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton from Baltimore, Tyke Smith from Tampa Bay, and of course you can always look at the reliable Derwin James. Buda Baker always has been reliable. Jeremy Chin in Las Vegas. Cam Curl, safety from the Rams. Like, another guy that's going to be on a shitty team, and I am so sad to see that I saw him leave the Jets, was Quincy Williams. I think he's another guy that you could look at, and he's a very good tackler. And on the defense, special teams, I think it's pretty simple. Go after a team like the Rams, the Steelers, the Texans, the Broncos, the Ravens. The Eagles have a great defense. Like, Patriots are going to have a great defense this year as well. So Colts should also have a really good defense as well in this situation. And then last but not least, we'll run through kickers really quick too. Kickers wise, I don't think a lot of people need advice on this, but Mevis, Dicker, you will just get a kicker you know is going to be on a high scoring offense. So the Rams, the Chargers, Cowboys, potentially San Fran, potentially Detroit, potentially KC with Harrison Butker, because Butker's always been relatively reliable. Sadly, Nick Folk leaving the Jets, I was sad about, and he's on Atlanta. The problem is he's reliable as a kicker. I wouldn't trust that Atlanta offense with a 10-foot pole. So, but as for that will be the end of our stream, guys. I gotta get me some water. My throat is drier than the Sahara Desert. My throat's starting to hurt too, but appreciate everybody that's tuned in. I love you all. And I'll see you guys all again Wednesday for the NFC East. We're going to break down the NFC East. Appreciate y'all. Love you all. God bless. And I'll see you soon. Oh, breaking news. Yankees acquire infielder Luis Garcia Jr. from the Nationals for 4 right-handed pitchers, including one with major league experience. That doesn't say much. Oh, He leads the net. Garcia 26 leads the National League in slugging percentage, is hitting .283 with 23 home runs. He's under club control through the end of 2027. All right. Well, that was a good move for the Yanks. But anyways, peace out, everybody.